Okay, picture this. It's January 1909. It's freezing cold. And for one whole week, an entire part of America is gripped by pure, genuine terror. We're talking rational adults locking themselves in their homes, armed mobs roaming the streets, schools actually shutting down. Why? All because hundreds of respectable people swore on their lives they saw a monster. This is the incredible story of the Jersey Devil, and how for 7 unbelievable days, the impossible felt terrifyingly real. It all started with a scream. I mean, just listen to that description. A horse in agony and a woman being strangled. That's what a postman named James Sackville heard on January 16th. And what he saw next, this winged creature with a head like a horse, well, that would kick off one of the wildest, most intense, and best documented monster scares in American history. So what started as one man's bizarre sighting just exploded. It went from 0 to 100, turning into a full-blown crisis. You see, the Jersey Devil was already a local ghost story, something people told around the fire for almost 2 centuries. But suddenly, it wasn't a story anymore. It seemed to be everywhere all at once, and it was a very, very real threat. And the speed at which this all happened is just mind-blowing. Think about it. On Saturday, it's one guy's weird tale. By Sunday, a cop is literally shooting at it. By Tuesday, kids are being kept home from school out of fear. And by the end of the week, you've got armed posses marching into the woods to hunt a monster. This week was a masterclass in how fear can go viral. And listen, this wasn't just talk. The fear completely paralyzed daily life. I mean, this wasn't some kind of joke people were in on. They were genuinely terrified. When you have railroad workers refusing to go to their jobs and hardware stores completely selling out of bullets, you know the panic is absolutely real. And we're not talking about a handful of people getting spooked. The conservative estimate is over 300 separate eyewitness reports, all in a single week. So, what on earth did all these people think they were seeing? You know, if this was just mass hysteria, you'd expect the descriptions to be all over the map, but they weren't. And that consistency is honestly one of the most chilling parts of this whole affair. This is what's so unnerving. You had witnesses who had never met, living miles and miles apart, all describing the same impossible creature. A horse's head, these leathery bat-like wings, cloven hooves, and that soul-shaking scream. It was as if everyone was seeing the exact same monster, pulled from some kind of shared nightmare. And then there was the physical evidence, or what seemed to be physical evidence. People were finding these strange cloven hoof prints all over the place. But the truly bizarre part was where they were finding them. On the roofs of houses, in the middle of empty, snow-covered fields, and then the tracks would just stop, as if whatever made them just lifted straight up into the air and flew away. So this leaves us with the million-dollar question, right? What was really going on here? Were hundreds of credible, sober-minded people actually seeing a monster, or was an entire region just falling victim to a kind of psychological virus? I mean, you can make a compelling case for both sides. In one corner, you've got hundreds of witnesses. We're talking police officers, priests, respectable citizens, all describing the same thing, plus those weird tracks. But in the other corner, you have these sensationalist newspapers just pouring gasoline on the fire, a local legend that gave everyone a blueprint for what to look for, and a whole population that was already stressed out. It's a tough call. And we really can't overstate the role of the media here. This was the peak of yellow journalism, where crazy, dramatic headlines sold papers. So the more newspapers reported on sightings, the more people started seeing things themselves. It created this vicious feedback loop of fear. Basically, it was the 1909 version of a story going viral on social media. Now, skeptics, of course, have a much more down-to-earth explanation. They suggest the whole panic might have been kicked off by a real, but maybe unfamiliar animal. Take the sandhill crane. It's a huge bird, it's got a 6-foot wingspan, and it makes this loud, rattling, really eerie call. So imagine you see one at dusk, you're not sure what it is, and you've been reading all these terrifying newspaper headlines. You can see how a legend might literally take flight. But to really understand why so many people were so ready to believe in a horse-headed demon, we have to rewind. We've got to go way back, nearly 200 years before the panic, to uncover the dark, desperate origins of the story itself. So let's travel back in time. The year is 1735. We're in the Pine Barrens of southern New Jersey, this vast, isolated, kind of spooky wilderness. This is where the seed of that 1909 panic was first planted. The legend centers on a woman named Deborah Leeds. As the story goes, she was completely exhausted after having 12 children. And when she found out she was pregnant with a 13th, she supposedly cursed it, crying out, "Let this one be the devil." Well, the story says her wish came true. The child was born a monster, killed the midwife, and flew right up the chimney to terrorize the Pine Barrens for generations. This was the story that was just simmering under the surface of the whole culture. Now, this is where the power of a good story becomes so clear, because when historians actually dig into the records, the legend completely falls apart. The Leeds family? They weren't poor at all. They were well-respected, pretty prosperous landowners. They were Quakers, a very rational religious group. And here's the kicker. While they did have 12 children, all of them named in the family will, there is absolutely no record of a 13th child. None. So, after the huge panic of 1909 finally fizzled out, the story of the Jersey Devil took another really strange turn. The creature that once inspired so much fear was about to become something completely different. It seems like America has this fascinating way of dealing with its monsters. We tame them. We domesticate them. The Jersey Devil went from being this genuine, terrifying threat to a piece of harmless local folklore. A source of absolute terror was slowly and systematically turned into a source of regional pride and, well, of course, profit. You can really see the creature's cultural journey here. For almost 200 years, it was an object of legitimate fear. Then, after that big 1909 scare, it kind of softened into a beloved folk tale. But then, in 1982, it made its final and maybe its weirdest transformation. It became a mascot. The state's brand new professional hockey team was named the New Jersey Devils, and they actually went on to win 3 Stanley Cups. The very same creature born from a mother's curse, the demon that terrorized an entire region, was now a celebrated champion with its face printed on jerseys worn by kids. Look, the 1909 panic was almost certainly a case of mass hysteria, fanned by the media. But for the people locking their doors and carrying guns in the street, the terror was 100% real. It changed their lives. So it leaves us with this one last thought. If hundreds of credible people all see the exact same monster, does that in a way make it real?